Hello guys and welcome to my budget deck channel. Today with a deck profile that I forgot about this deck. I forgot about the existence of this being a thing. And yeah, I will talk about what card I like in this deck, what card you could play instead, which cards are left out of the deck, or what cards that can be replaced if you want to keep the deck a bit cheaper, or if you have a little bit of a bigger budget. But all in all, this deck profile should not be costing all that much. I mean, it's probably not going to be like super mega competitive, but in a casual, somewhat I don't know, in a little bit more friendly environment than possibly regionals or whatever it would be, but there are none anyway, so why does that matter? This deck is fairly okay for what it does. Like, first of all, it's meant to be going second. You can go first place. You can tweak the deck a little bit if you want to, but I feel like the deck goes best going second, but there's probably things that you can make so they would work going first as well. Could play stuff like Zaborg the Mega Monarch, for example, and the Incantation package, which isn't too bad, but it stops you sometimes from using your fusions, and we don't want that. So felt like that was better without it. One beast, one dragon, triple schemata. Could do two if you want to, but I feel like three is actually quite nice, especially it's level 4, which can be quite helpful for cards like Valkyries. One trick client for the light attribute monster in the deck. Also, yeah, I still feel like the card actually does help with ritual summoning and so on. So I feel like trick client is totally fine. Triple Manju to 10,000 hands. Manju is not as cheap as it should be, I feel. The fact that this card is so old and barely sees play, this card should probably be a common printing new card, but it's not. So probably one of the more expensive cards in this deck, weirdly. But yeah, I liked it more than Incantation package since you don't really have normal summons in this deck. So that one was fine. Could play like the Spellbook engine as well if you want to, but I feel like getting one of the searches off is actually quite crucial. One Ariel, because the whole combo that you can do with Incarnation, that's what you need this card for. Same goes for Wendy. Also, Wendy's effect is actually quite neat sometimes, especially in a ritual deck, being able to like replace itself like with a higher level monster that can be used as ritual fodder. That card is pretty good. Shaddoll Hedgehog replaces itself as well. Level 3, maybe not as... I mean, it works for cards like Colossus if you ever want to summon it, which is not... It's not always bad, you know? It's not always bad. And Ash Blossom at 2, you can play any other hand trap. Gnome Material is kind of cheap at the moment. Effect Veiler, if you really want to, adds another light target to the deck. Nekroz of Trishula, yeah, I feel like at 1 the card is fine, protects from targeting, but also you can use the effect. Like, there is a level constellation that you can get off. For example, with Abkalon and any of the level 3s, or with Beast and any of the level 4s. So there's actually stuff where you can summon the card, which is not too bad, and it can really screw over your opponent. But I felt like at 2 it was a bit too much, since the card is searchable-ish by some of your cards like Bryanak. On Valkyries, you could play 2 if you want to, but I feel like the stall effect, yeah, it's nice. The second effect is actually pretty good, but same thing as Trishula. Like, I feel there's other cards, and since it's searchable, yeah, I don't know. I feel like it worked better for me at 1 rather than at 2. Bryanak searches the cards. Reason why I don't play him at 2 but at 3 is the fact that Bryanak plus Kaleidoscope dumps Abkalon and searches your Shaddoll Fusion or your Schism, which is actually crucial for this deck, basically. Like, it's a very, very good play that gets your second engine going. So I feel like you want to see this card in hand as much as possible. And it's not as searchable. Yes, it's searchable with Preparation of Rites, but it's not searchable with any of the other Nekroz cards, because that is the searcher, and yeah, it can't search itself. But if you have it, why would you search itself anyway? So that's the reason why I run this card at 3. Plus, going second, the effect can be quite nice, especially since this deck is aiming not so much for the OTK, but more for the like going second, but then control the game from there on, rather than like bash your opponent instantly with a full hand. So being able to like spin the targets that you Dark Ruler no more, for example, is actually quite need Unicorn. Since you're not playing this deck to go first that much, it's still good going second, but also kind of hinders your whole Winder setups, for example. So I feel like the card is nice, especially because you can dump Intis or Herald. But other than that, yeah, it's good recursion as well from the effect of getting it to the graveyard. I feel like you will not be able to, like, you'll not summon it as much as you might think, but at 2, I think the card is definitely fine in the deck. 2 Colossus, being able to search you spell card is pretty nice. Also, the effect can come in handy, that's why I put in the extra deck. 1 Martial Metal Marcher, obviously you can put any other level 3 Synchro or Fusion Monster or whatever that you want. Because I think there's no level 3 that does anything in the graveyard, if I'm not mistaken. You don't need to, but I felt like it does, like it did come up for me sometimes, and could have won me the game a few times. So I felt like, yeah, extra deck space isn't necessarily that tight. You could also play like some rank 4s in this deck, and there's a lot of stuff that you could play if you wanted to. I just want to make like a basic kind of toolboxy kind of thing. But yeah, obviously there's you can tweak some of the ratios when it comes to the extra deck. Shaddoll Fusion, need card going second. Most decks will be playing some sort of extra deck monsters. Since you don't run too many hand traps, you're not going to make them not get to 1 most of the time. So the card is pretty neat, and it has this neat clause that you could only activate 1 Shaddoll Fusion per turn. So yeah, if it gets negated, there's or ashed or whatever it is, then if you had a second one, you could use a second one. Dark Ruler No More, obviously pretty good going second against the build-a-board decks that run around these days. Preparation of Rites searches you basically every one of your ritual monsters, because you can search Brionac, and Brionac searches any of the other ones, so that's nice. Plus it gives recursion to the cards in graveyard. Double Kaleidoscope, because Kaleidoscope actually is pretty neat. And double Cycle. Cycle can summon from hand or graveyard, which is nice if you dump one of your monsters with Shaddoll Fusion, which you most likely will not be doing, because that means you will be summoning a water one, which yeah, kind of blocks you from from ritual summoning from your hand or graveyard, if I'm not mistaken, which is yeah, counterproductive. But if for some reason that ever happens, you get this card out, link it away, so you can use Trishula from your graveyard. Yeah, go for it. That works if you want to. Plus the cards discard themselves to get other effects and whatnot. So I feel like that is still pretty good. You could obviously swap out 1 cycle if you want to. If you want to play 1 mirror, then play 1 mirror. You can banish Nekroz monsters from your graveyard as material. In the end, it comes out the same if you want to summon one from your graveyard, or if you want to use materials from the graveyard. Cycle usually is a little bit better. 1 El Shaddoll Fusion, you could play more, but I don't really want to hard fuse that much in hand. Like, being able to search the card technically, if you really want to with Apkalon, if you want to set up Wind plays during your opponent's turn or whatsoever, then having 1 in the deck is nice, but I don't feel like playing more than 1 is technically necessary, because if you only start with 1 Shaddoll monster in hand and like some of your Nekroz monsters, do you really want to get this card out? I feel like a lot of the cards were more useful than the El Shaddoll Fusion would be. 1 Shaddoll Incarnation, because the card is actually yeah, it's quite nice. You can easily go into like a Link 3, Link 4 kind of play here. Helps you set up Cross Sheep, which nice in this deck, I'm telling you, with discards and whatnot in Ritual and Fusion decks. Also, yeah, you could get some card advantage if you don't go for the aerial play, but like flip a Shaddoll Beast, or go for a Disruption during your opponent's turn using like Skomata's effect or using Dragon's effect. So there's actually quite usage with it. And Shaddoll Schism, which is the most expensive card of this deck profile, I feel like by far. Not sure how the prices of Herald and Intis have developed recently, but I feel like this card is the most expensive by far. So if you don't want to play it, then go for a 2nd Incarnation possibly, because that still works, or a 3rd Ash Blossom, or whatever you want. Like, there's multiple things you can do with that. For the extra deck, I feel like 1 Construct is usually fine, but 2 comes up sometimes, so I like playing 2. Apkalon, same thing. Helped me actually having 2. Wind's the only thing where I feel like 1 was mainly fine, so if you want to cut some, that's a thing. Or you could cut 1 Intis or 1 Arclight if you really want to, because after using Kaleidoscope once on Unicorn, it barely comes up using it again, and then you still have the effect of the other one. So technically, you could be cutting two of these and put some linked monsters in, put some rank 4 monsters in, all of these kind of things. Level 3 for for Colossus if you ever want to summon Colossus. Skulldread, well, easy link for access, and being able to draw new cards in a ritual deck is always nice. You could also go for Ball Sword if you want to, or Appaloosa if you really want to, if your budget allows it. After the maximum gold reprints, not sure how cheap Appaloosa possibly will be. Nightmare Phoenix, a card that always helps against back row heavy decks, and Cross Sheep, which is also not that cheap, I think, but I think its usage has decreased a lot lately, and it's a common if I'm not mistaken, or rare. So yeah, should be able to pick that one up if you really want to. Don't have to. It's situational, but it does help a lot of the time actually. Wish the ritual effect was draw 2 and discard 1, but the discard is still okay for the Shaddoll monsters, for example, but you still have to watch out which one you can actually use. You run out of them quite a lot because there's so many cards like Valkyrie's effect, or yeah, the fusion effect, or ritual summoning with the card, that yeah, you trigger the effects quite a lot. Could play one Shurud, didn't feel like I needed it, but sure, I mean, you could play Shurud if you really wanted to. Falco is a card where I wasn't sure. Can be nice, but just getting Falco back is a bit slow. And if it was like a level 4 card, I would have considered it just to replace itself and these kind of things. But being level 2, didn't really feel it. And other than that, yeah, talked about the other cards already. The deck profile, I think the deck itself is quite nice. It's fun to play. I feel like that's what counts. And it's not going to be super mega competitive, but you could steal a few wins in the grind game from certain decks. Not all decks, because certain decks just beat you. Played a few matches against ABC, for example, and their grind game can screw you up if you don't get your Winda set up possibly, or try to negate their kind of stuff with a few things. Other than that, yeah, hope you enjoyed the deck profile. Subscribe, like, blah blah blah, do all those things other people tell you to do, and I hope you have a good day.